What up, guys? Welcome back to another great episode of Redirekt. I got to read the script this time so I don't get fined. This is a podcast where we redirect your attention away from stressors, your drama, and things you can't control. We hope to provide you with some interesting perspectives, some laughs, and some redirection.
Why'd you have to?
Now I have that out the way. Now I can be myself. Welcome back. This is us. We are back. Karan, the host with the most, the greatest. Yeah. And of course, here I have with us to my left.
I am Devon.
Wow.
Just skipped right over me. How about this? I am Raven Jackson, the third host of the Redirekt podcast, and this is...
Both of y'all just skipped me. I'm Devon. I do my little names for Black History Month, but this month I'm going to go with my ancestors. I'm Devon Forbes, Brockett, Gregory. I'm respecting my people that I come from this week. So, yeah.
Devon's really the third host because you the second, because you the middle.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I'm first.
Don't
get it twisted.
There's three hosts on this podcast.
First being third.
He brought us in, but I am the first. Anyways, Trudy. I'm sorry. We have a guest. We have a guest with us today. She works as a school counselor. Her name is Turesa Gilchrist. Turesa, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Okay, I was about to say you just did.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, my name is Tessa. Yes, I am a middle school counselor. This is my first year. So yes.
So excited to have you.
Yeah, tell them something about you, other than you being a school counselor.
Well, Karan can tell you. I feel like my life is work, so I don't know what else to say. Let's see.
You got hobbies?
I don't really
talk about our alma mater. Where do you go to school?
Oh, well, okay. So, yeah, I went to ODU along with Raven and Karan. So, yeah, graduated from ODU with my master's. I went to CNU for undergrad. So.
Devon went to ODU.
I, too, went to ODU, guys.
Oh, I forgot.
Devon went to Norfolk State.
Well, I think she said that because she actually went through the mental health track at ODU getting her grad. You know, he got his bachelor's, so
nope,
which is just as important.
She was like, the high school is the streets. That's what she was trying to say.
Let them know that you've done so far qualified.
Right.
That's how y'all met. You were Karan. I forgot.
Yeah.
No, we're really happy to have you here. Well, we're really happy to have you here, and just to get your perspective on some things. So, Devon, what are we talking about today?
So, before we dive into things,
Jive.
I said dive. Shut up. Karan and I wanted to do something. So last week I said that we had Raven as a host, as a temporary host. She agreed to be a full-time host. So Redirekt has grown from 2 to 3. So we have a new host right here.
Oh,
guys.
wow. I didn't know we were going to introduce her today. Thank you.
So she's permanent on the podcast now. So you'll be seeing her, from now on until she decides to leave us or we do something else.
Thanks for giving me that option. No pressure.
Until she goes back to Florida. So we wanted to present Raven with a gift. We put a lot of work,
oh my God.
a lot of thought into this.
Yes.
Not that it was right under his legs the whole entire time.
It came in a special package.
Like that.
Yes.
Right, like this is a typical guy gift. It's in a Food Line. This is even Food Line. Yep, it is Food Line.
Stay fresh and affordable, Raven.
A ring pop.
Okay.
And a thank you card.
Oh.
You gotta read
Squad by Karan.
What?
And you were the best person available. All that love in this card with the ring pop.
She don't sound too excited.
Super cute. How excited would you be? You were the best person available. Thank you guys. No, I really appreciate it and the opportunity to be here. I say that every week, but
yeah. I think me and Devon did ourselves.
Yeah.
As we show our cup sauce.
When you're on a team with guys.
Redirekt.
Yeah.
I don't think you really like that gift.
No, I do. I'm about to put the ring pop on.
You got a whole bunch of noise doing it.
Go ahead.
Let's just get it over with. Okay, there we go.
Speaking of getting over with, there's a better box in here for you to open.
Wow. Okay, now I am.
Wow. See, she all about that conditional love.
No, I am not.
They
got me a mug.
The card won't enough.
Just said that you
We're matching. Love
Part
this.
of the crew.
Yeah.
Look. Come on.
The Redirekt crew.
It's official, y'all. Thank you. I love the card and the mug. Keeping it all forever.
The card was a joke.
I hope so.
I was like, Karan, we gotta mess with her, and they can see like we
I was
put
the best
no
available.
I was like, wow, Devon. When you told me that.
But now that we got that out the way, thank you both for being here, of course. And we're gonna dive into today's topic. So today's topic is: do we really need a Black History Month?
A very triggering question.
A very triggering question.
Loaded question.
So we wanted to talk about that because there are a plethora of people that just they hate on Black History Month. They ask the question, why do you get a month? Why don't I have a month? We've seen things like schools are like not teaching Black history as much or not paying respect to Black History Month as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Teresa, you have some, perspective you can share on that, and I'm gonna give you the floor in a second. I'm gonna give it to you now, actually. Go ahead. Go ahead. You have experience with that personally, right?
Yes. yes. Okay. So like I said, I am new to this, being a counselor this year, and I am in a predominantly white school district. So with that being said, I already knew it would be interesting this year, just seeing how they, do things. And so, my co-counselor and I, so there's two of us, we, split by alphabet. So I have the last half of the alphabet. She has the first half, but we both have 6 through 8. So, we collaborate, and she's new also. So it's been interesting having 2 new counselors, in the school this year. And the teachers here are a lot older. So, they're not as receptive a lot of times, especially as we've been virtual this year, trying to roll out programs virtually. They're kind of like, So we were meeting to plan. We usually meet at the end of each month to plan in advance for the next month. So when we were meeting last month to plan for, this month, I was like, what's Black History Month? Like, we were just mapping out everything we were going to do. And it was a meeting with me, her, and our registrar sits in our meetings too, just so she can kind of know like what we're doing. So our registrar is talking about Groundhog Day. She's going, I'm like, Groundhog Day? I forgot about that. But I'm like, who remembers this stuff? So she's like, yeah, I can't wait. And then my co-counselor was like, oh my God, it's Kindness Month. Like, oh my gosh. And so apparently, which I do know this from, being a counseling intern, but she was saying like, so this coming week, President's Week, so next week, it's actually like National Random Acts of Kindness Week, I guess. So she was like, well, I just think right now what we all need is kindness. So I think we should just focus the whole month, our lessons and our groups on kindness, because we just need it so much right now. And I'm like, okay. So she was really upset because fast forward, what ended up happening is we had a meeting with our director and all the middle school counselors. So this is the time where kids start actually choosing their classes for next year. So basically her plan got scrapped because we now have to use our classroom lesson time. So we push into each class once a month and we do our lessons with the kids. We basically have to focus on that. So I'm lying to you not, was on the verge of tears at school one day because she was like, we can't do kindness. And I just was looking forward to this all year. And she was like, this is my favorite time of the year. And I'm just like, what is going on? So she really, and every time I brought up, I brought up Black History Month and I was like, all right, well, what are we going to do for that? And I'm telling you, how we have these masks so you can't really see nothing with your eyes, but she literally just froze. Like, she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Like, what?
Exactly, right?
Should we? And I was like, I'm trying to think of a way to virtually, it's kind of hard. And so I asked other counselors, what are y'all doing? Because like I said, we're still virtual. I know some people are hybrid, but we aren't yet. So I was like, I don't know, maybe each day I could just at bare minimum send out a fact or something. And she was just talking to a brick wall. She was just like, okay, and then she even made the point to say well, if you want to do that, that's fine. And I'm like, well, no, we should do that together. I don't think that it would look, right if only this counselor is doing this, but you're over here doing that. I was like, no, we always do everything together. So she was just like, oh, well, yeah, we can take a look at that. We can take a look at that. So I'm like, okay, we can look at it.
She was dismissive.
Yeah. It was just, so it was.
It sounds like she wants to focus on this idea of Kindness Month, and were other people behind it?
Yeah.
So no one else was like, Hold up. What about Black History Month?
Yeah, and so even in our school, like just as our school, like no one has still said anything about Black History Month. Like we have not really heard anything. No one has said anything, not even an email. And even recently, like if you go online right now for the state of Virginia, the Virginia Department of Education, which is the top leader, they even sent an email the other day. They're like selling T-shirts that say Virginia is for kindness. Like they're like going all out. I
got that email too from Virginia Board of Education.
I wanted to say that's trash. It's not trash to celebrate kindness, but you shouldn't forget Black History Month and then only focus on kindness. How was that kind to forget something like that?
No.
It almost makes me think that it just didn't want to talk about it because they may be tired of it, like hearing it maybe on the media or just having that discussion. Like maybe they just want to stay comfortable and not talking about it and not having to talk about it in schools. Yeah, the word comfortable.
You should have brought up random acts of blackness every day, email all the kids an NWA song.
Like just to go deeper, which I know Karan knows. Well, Karan would know because when I was in the school counseling program, let me tell you, I made my mark now because I was the one in class though that was really vocal about a lot of this stuff. But even with kindness, like one of the girls in my class, she was the same way. She was like kindness, kindness, kindness. Everything's kindness. And I was like, well, I was reading this article. So there's this website, if you've never heard of it, called, they just changed the name to, I think it's called Teaching Justice now. It was like Teaching Intolerance, but they do like curriculums that school counselors or teachers can use. And that's what they were talking about. There's an article saying like, just teaching kindness isn't enough. And that's what it was saying. Like kindness is fine. Like you were saying, Devon. We're not saying don't be kind. Yes, but there's more to it. Like
I feel like it would have been cool to be in conjunction with like how to be kind and how to have those conversations, how to be kind and not microaggressive. Like there's a lot of things they could have done with that.
Because they're trying to ignore. It seems like they're trying to ignore Black history. Yeah. And we're only going to focus on kindness because kindness applies to everybody. Well, Black history applies to everybody in America because it's American history.
Yeah. So and that's what they were saying. Like the article, exactly what Raven just said. It was like, you can still be kind and use microaggressions. You can still be kind, be racist. You can still be kind, be homophobic. Like,
exactly.
It's like, and there was even an example of like, especially for school counselors, like if a child does something, and teachers are quick to, especially at the younger ages, they're quick to be like, oh, we'll just apologize. That wasn't kind to say that. But, as counselors, we know to validate kids' feelings. Like, no, clearly that was something that bothered them. So we need to address it instead of glossing over it. Like
there should be deeper discussions.
Yeah, like that's not the way to go about it.
So Virginia isn't the only state that's having this issue. I would imagine it's probably a whole bunch. But one example I saw specifically was in Utah. There was a school in Utah who gave parents, I think it was the parents that protested, and they were like, we want the option to opt out of, opt our kids out of these Black history lessons.
My question is, what is the reason behind opting out of Black History Month? Like,
do you really don't know that?
No. I'm saying like, what are the obviously there are underlying reasons that we all know sitting here, but like, what are they saying to prove their point? Like, I want to know, because is it because, I mean, obviously they probably won't say it's racist or
some of it,
even though they don't even know the definition of racism, obviously. But
some of it probably is the fact that some people are just racist. I would think some people probably feel like it's not important for their child to learn these things because they're like, it doesn't affect their life. I would think. We know that's not true, but
education is okay.
Exactly.
Like, education is powerful, like what will hurt for him to learn that or him or her to learn that?
We're just talking about the Midwest area now.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Virginia, talking about kindness month and not Black History Month. So
isn't this the lover?
Yeah, Virginia's for lovers.
Yeah. That was new to me.
Apparently not lovers of Black history.
Right.
So after some backlash, like they retracted that and was like, nah, we don't want to opt out of it no more. We're okay. They can learn.
Right.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't have to get to that level. It's like, in this day and age of the internet being everywhere and social media, like things are going to spread. And I'm surprised this Virginia thing hasn't spread more than what it has.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you guys have seen something that I haven't seen.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
I do have a question. Like, were you surprised when she came up with that idea? Like, was that something that you could expect from this woman's personality, or?
Not really, because like I said, we're both new. So she actually, this is her 3rd year as a counselor, so she's fairly new. But she came from, this is the funny part, she came from like a predominantly white Catholic school.
Okay.
So was I surprised? No. And I could tell she's like super conservative. Like we're opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So I could tell that. But yeah, no, and that's the funny part too. Like I said, so the next time, because we were so busy that day that we actually did kind of table it. So we met again like that Friday, and that's when kind of like we were just saying, I even told her, I was like, I don't have an issue with kindness. Like I want to be clear, because she was like turning bloodshot.
You know how it go. I should have said that.
Too late now.
I can get to that point. And I was like, look, like sometimes I have to watch my tone. So I was like, no, I'm not saying like it's a problem, but like I said, it's just to me, like they're in middle school, and I can tell you, like the stuff that she wanted to do was like, I told Karan, she was saying like something about manners and being polite. I'm like, what? They're in middle school. If by now you don't know to say please and thank you, I cannot help you with that. Like, you know, these are things you know.
I guess the reason why I asked is that I just wanted to put perspective on who's actually doing, like, pushing these things out. Like, is it just this particular type of person, or, you know, with specific beliefs? Yeah.
I think that's important to kind of look at too, Raven. It's like, why are people saying these things? And then to acknowledge that it's not just people outside of the Black community that think that Black History Month is something that we don't need. There's a man who's running for governor in Michigan.
His name is Devon Brockett.
I wish I was. His name is Austin Chenge. I don't know if I butchered that. I tried my best. I tried my best.
I would have said the same thing.
So yeah, Mr. Austin. He's running for governor in Michigan. And Mr. Austin has said that if he is elected, he will cancel Black History Month. He said it's offensive, unfair, and maybe illegal. He said Americans from all backgrounds deserve a revered history, and he wants to declare an American History Month. Now, Raven, you did a little bit more digging on this, Mr. Austin. You want to share what you found?
I mean, and I believe he also was saying, like, you know, the reason why he felt like Black History Month wasn't really important was obviously because, you know, he feels like Black history is American history, which is obvious, but I forgot the quote that I had in it, actually. Do you have it pulled up? Yeah, he was like, I don't actually, this is really important because, like I said, like I feel like we should know the type of people who are saying these things, but he was saying, like, I don't actually see myself as a minority or a Black American or Black anything or a minority anything. I just see myself as an American. When we start focusing on person's gender or race, blah, 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 this is the part that got me. We lose our unity as Americans. If I become the governor of Michigan, I am not going to be the first Black governor of Michigan. I'm going to be just another American governor.
I have something I want to say to that. Something I learned from a white lady, a white professor, that is very ignorant to say.
Why is that, Karan?
Yeah.
At that point, you just ignoring everybody's cultures and backgrounds. At that point, you completely ignorant.
Yeah.
You know what I heard when you read that? I don't see color.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same vibe. It's also the same vibes as All Lives Matter.
Exactly. It's.
I bet you he didn't date Black women in high school.
Maybe ever. I don't know. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he dated everybody.
And, you know, half of me, I'm always the person that just looks at everything. I'm just like, okay, I like people who don't like labels, I guess, but it's not really like realistic. You always going to see people with their cultures. Like, it's inevitable. You have eyes, you know,
exactly.
And we're humans, like we automatically categorize things, whether it's good or not. So, I mean, it sounds good. It sounds cool. Like maybe one day, 1,000 years later, but it's definitely not a thing today. And that's not something that and then for me, it was the unity.
Yeah.
Unity as Americans, like we were united.
You need to take a trip down to West Virginia.
Alabama or somewhere. Virginia. I feel like you have to look at people's intentions. Like, why do they say that? Because some people can make that statement and really believe, I want everybody to be equal. Some people make that statement and they say it as a cover to cover what they're really saying, which is that, you know, I want everything to be the way it is, and I don't want to have Black History Months or Hispanic History Months. I want to just, live life as normal, which is a Eurocentric way of living.
Mm-hmm. It just feels like it's ignoring the issue. It's not really like striving for change. Yeah, because yeah,
he's a Republican too, by the way.
Yeah,
you guys couldn't tell.
I want to add a little bit more than Mr. What's his name, Austin.
Yeah.
Like I said, Devon said he's a Republican. He also spoke up at a Stop the Steal rally in support.
What's that?
The Stop the Steal, which is like what Trump was saying was like stop the stealing the votes.
We don't speak that name around here.
I'm sorry.
Twice impeached.
We don't say that.
And not only did he speak up at the Stop the Steal rally, he also supported the people who attacked Capitol Hill.
So I know his intent.
Mm-hmm.
We have a real live Uncle Ruckus.
We do.
Yeah, he was saying that they're striving. They're very passionate people. Like they were just working off of passion.
I wonder how he felt last summer during all the Black Lives Matter protests.
Yeah, I want to know what he said about that.
He probably called them terrorists. I mean, I'm not saying he said that, but I would imagine that he
probably said that there's no need for violence to be, looting or anything like that.
Yeah.
So,
y'all know something that's funny? I've seen like studies where they'll say like in 2050, most of the population is going to be like raven complexion people with like same color eyes.
I guess so.
And like, people are pretty much going to look the same, which to me seems unrealistic because that's only 30 years away and I'll be 56. So, I mean, I'm not raven complexion. So how is it? Y'all going to change me? Like,
no, but I'm saying, I think because a lot of people we talked about this last week, but just the mixing of different, like people love light skin babies, like, and they like different cultures, and we're starting to, I know y'all, we should explain the melting pot versus the salad thing.
Oh yeah, I love
but
that.
That was a really good, but people are starting to actually like, not appreciate, but just want to be together, different cultures, and they like,
so more mixing of people. So that's the whole thing. Is like they're saying people are going to mix more, which is going to produce more interracial people and people that identify with different racial groups. We use that loosely because race is a social construct. However, I don't know if you guys remember that episode on the Fairly Odd Parents where Timmy wished everybody was the same and everybody were gray blobs. People still found in that show, they still found a way to be like, well, I'm grayer than you, or I'm the most blobbiest blob there is.
Yeah. Wow.
We would still do that. If everybody was the same complexion, we would look at something
there's going to be like hair texture,
nose,
eyes, nose,
height. Yep, everything. Shape.
There's always going to be some type of prejudice, discrimination.
Short people breast more or something.
Right, it's going to be something like that. So to think that we can all just be like ignore people's differences, and to go to what you were talking about, the melting pot thing. America is proud to say that we're a melting pot.
Yeah,
that's not what we should strive to be. I mean, a melting pot implies that we're all one, which in a sense we are under this umbrella of Americans. However, you also have to respect diversity. So I think we talked about it. I said it's like a melting pot, which I thought of like a pot of fondue versus a salad. A salad has different components to it, but they all make up this one great thing. And you can appreciate the lettuce and the tomatoes, the purple onions, the croutons, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I'm gonna give it to somebody else that I've been talking about.
So you don't put meat in your salad?
I agree with that. No,
You could. You could put meat in your salad.
I was gonna say vinaigrette, but I didn't want to sound bougie.
You don't use no regular ranch. You too good for that.
Well, pizza, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Come on, ranch is delicious.
So does one of my co-hosts want to? Because I just said a lot.
No, I mean that was needed, and we needed to talk about that, and I feel like we all agreed. I guess we can go into like the history of like Black history and how it all started. It was first a week, and it was recognized by a president, and then now it's something that's pushed to be like as a whole month, and now we celebrate it by looking at different like Black figures and how they had an impact on where we are today and stuff like that. So that's really like the whole purpose of Black History Month, is to really just bring it like all these Black figures to life, and those things that were glossed over in K through 12 schools, that weren't really like talked about in depth.
Yeah, and it's funny. That makes me think of Karan has shown me this video. The one you sent me, it was like how Black History Month is taught in schools. Yeah. So it was you have to show that. It was funny. Like in the video, they were like, "All right, here's Martin Luther King. All right, we're gonna move on to the."
It's just very sanitized. Yeah,
like that is it. Like where that is not the whole. Like I said,
no,
that's not it. Like what it's sad that that's how they.
Like I grew up in North Carolina, so it's different from up here in VA. Granted, I wasn't a model student. I didn't always pay attention in history class, but I don't remember learning about Nat Turner until I came up here to Virginia. And I was in college and I went to a play on Nat Turner, and that's when I found out about him. I was like, this is some important history.
Or that movie that traumatized me. Nat Turner, this movie.
Oh, with what's his name?
I don't know his name, but that was traumatizing.
I can't think of his name. I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or Denmark Vesey, another person who led a enslaved person's rebellion.
Like I said, they just gloss all over this in grade school.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
You gotta bust up in them classrooms with your dashiki on.
I'm telling you,
start teaching them.
That's the hard part. Like as a school counselor, that is the hard part because you have your admin. You have your teachers, which you can only do but so much. Like you're trying to, tell them, okay, like I said, we need to include this in the curriculum. They're like, what? Then you have your admin, then you have, your whole division-wide, your superintendent. There's so many like layers. But I mean, like they say, we do what we can. So even like for me, like where there's like small groups, just anything we can do, like more knowledge to spread, because unfortunately that's the hard part with like trying to change a whole curriculum at a school that's been operating the same way for 30 years. They're not, they're going to resist that.
Yeah.
I wanted to say this before we move too far, because I hear a lot of Black people complain and say, why do we get the shortest month? Black history was, Raven said, was started as a week. February was chosen because of the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and
Frederick Douglass.
I couldn't think of his name. Frederick Douglass. Carter G. Woodson and another man who I never heard his name before until I did some more research. Jesse E. Moreland. He was a minister. They both worked together and founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. And again, that week grew into a month, and that's why we have Black History Month in February. So it wasn't the government of America that said we're going to choose the shortest month.
Conspiracy theory.
It was two Black individuals that said we're choosing this month for this reason.
I don't know, the word February sounds black.
I like it because I was born in this month, so it's always going to be great. So, Teresa, I know you're a new school counselor, right? Why is it important for school-aged kids to get broad education on history of different peoples?
Well, I think kind of like what you said. I mean, like what we were saying earlier about the melting pot versus, having the salad bowl. Like, I think it's just important that all kids know, like I was saying, when it comes to, looking at Black, historical, Martin Luther King, all these people. And like I said, they want to pinpoint these one or two people. And a lot of times, or like I said, what's being taught is just being whitewashed in a sense. Like me and my mom were just talking about, like, I know there was an article too that was on Facebook about some school that was saying like, oh, well, Martin Luther King Jr., was the hero and Malcolm X was the, the bad guy. Like all of that. And it's just, like you said, it's just sad, but it's important, that all kids really, are exposed to this, and like you said, for parents to be saying they want to opt out or they want to, it's just sad that they, are just trying to keep these kids in this bubble of what's, it's not reality. Like you can't live like that. And I think the sad part with kids is, as we know, they only know what they're taught. Kids are only know what they're taught. Like, you wonder why they get older and they're in high school now, or like I said, then they become adults and they have these like crazy mentalities, and you're wondering what happened. That's why, like I said, their parents are just trying to keep them in this bubble of like, oh, these things never happened, this.
And you almost can't even be, I know a lot of people are quick to be mad at them for not knowing these things. Like I've had a conversation with someone the other day who's in the counseling program with me, and she was just like, I don't get it. Like, why is this stuff happening? Like, and she's just now getting it, like understanding and becoming uncomfortable. And, you know, as a friend, like I'm just trying to encourage her to continue to be uncomfortable and continue to expose yourself to that information so you can, because she's in the school counseling track. So just encouraging her to like learn these things for the sake of her students. So, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Maybe I could even be mad at her because she, like, I'm more mad at the system. I think everyone should be more mad at the system, not at each other, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because
that goes with a lot of stuff. Right? I mean, I know we want to keep it to the topic of Black history, but it goes into like gender equality. It goes into like the disparity in wealth. If you don't know, you don't know. And it makes it easier to have dialogue when we're more compassionate to each other, understanding and kind. So Kindness Month does have a place, but you shouldn't forget Black History Month.
Right.
Do that instead.
Yeah, it's kind of what you just said about the compassion, the empathy, or like we were saying earlier, calling, you know, validating kids' feelings, calling things out versus just be kind. You know, kindness, like I said, it's not the end all, it's not the total solution. Yeah, it can't be.
Right. Yeah.
Which I agree, because the system perpetuates this racism and the myth of white superiority.
Yeah.
And it does it in a way so that most of us don't learn real history.
Right.
So we don't have a real respect for other groups. So now it's easier for me to look at you as a thug, as what's the word that they would use for criminal, hood rat, etc. You know, somebody from the outside of the community, ghetto, outside of the community looking in. Because the first thing that I remember learning about Black history is, I'm gonna say two things because I don't remember exactly. If I remember correctly, it may have been learning about Egypt. However, I say that, but however, it was not in a way where it was like these were Black people. It was just Egypt. Egypt was separate from Africa.
Yeah.
So
for a long time, I thought Egypt was just Egypt.
Exactly. It was the own little island.
Island of pyramids.
Right.
And then when I learned about what they considered Black history, real Black history was slavery. So this introduction into your ancestors were slaves. And I think for most people that creates a disconnect because who just wants to be the descendant of a slave?
Right. When there's more than that. Yeah. Like when I was doing research before this podcast, I was like, I learned that just off of one click, I learned that there was a library that took Timbuktu. Didn't know about that. Didn't know that, you know, I wasn't like against it. I didn't think that it actually didn't happen, but there was like a whole library filled up with readings and math and all these different things that our African descents made. So I want more of that history, you know, being taught.
Yep. The one or two people.
Not all like not just, you know, a Eurocentric view, like they just created all these things. Like they weren't the only ones who were geniuses around here. So I just want more of that for sure.
I mean, when you really look into history, European society is based off of Greek and Roman society. And the Greeks and Romans learned from the Egyptians. I'm just going to say that. I ain't going to go on the spiel because I can do it, but I ain't.
No, that's
your strongest is Monk Devon. We need to have a sit down talk with Devon. Make that new segment. Sit down with Devon.
Sit down with Devon. learn some stuff about yourself.
Let me pull you to the African table.
We gotta have a kente cloth laid out. We could do that. We definitely could do that. What was y'all first introduction to Black history? I just shared mine. I'd like to hear what y'all say.
I mean, I always just think about MLK, Martin Luther King. He was great, but they just loved to just, you know, I feel like we hyper focus on him, even though he was a huge catalyst for, you know, where we're at today. But there's like, I still agree that there's so much more that I wish I learned, like Timbuktu and like all these different things about what we were in Africa before slavery. You know, we're not just slaves. That's not where it started. So, but just to answer the question.
But basically, like she said, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and just around that time frame. Yeah, that's pretty much all I remember. Like learning from like grade school and everything. Like I said, I wasn't the greatest student then, but that's the most I remember. Either that or slavery.
What about you, Teresa?
I think so too. I agree. Like that's kind of what y'all were saying. Like
can't copy our answers.
No. Well, I was gonna say, you know this, but I actually went to 8 different schools.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I have had like many different experiences, which is kind of interesting now, like working at a predominantly white school. Like I said, like I was telling my mom, and I'm like I told Karan that I was like, I'm looking into like possibly going to another school at some point. But then I think about like me, I was once the kid that was at a predominantly white school where there was only like 10 Black kids, and we all, so I think about that now with my students of like, I'm happy I'm here because now they have me. I didn't have a me, to go to my counselor. Like my counselors are old. I don't even remember none of them. So yeah, but I don't. Yeah, Black history probably the same. I just remember the few little people they talked about. I don't even remember like elementary school really at all. I remember middle school, but even still, like I was telling my mom too, about like when they talk about the Native Americans. That's the funniest. That's the most fondest memory that I have of like, they actually. Did you all ever do this? But they used to have us like dress up as like the Indians and
the
yes, I was one, and my mom was like, I do remember that. I was in like first or second grade. Yeah. They had us dress up as like what was it? I don't even remember now.
Pilgrims and the Native Americans.
Pilgrims and the Indians, and it was terrible. And I said, why did this ever get approved to happen? Like stuff like that blows my mind now, thinking about how like we just went along with it. My mom was like, yeah, I remember y'all would like, you do the little turkey hand and you do all that. And I'm like, that stuff was wild. Like we actually
I forgot about that. That was not a part of my memories.
I was thinking about that recently. Like I saw something, one of the counselors I'm in like this professional school counselors of color Facebook group. So they always share, and we were talking about that. And they were like, y'all remember stuff like this? That's crazy that we, did this stuff. And I'm like, no, like it's, it was just terrible.
I got a story that trumps that.
Oh Lord!
Unfortunately, I too went to predominantly white schools for most of my academic career, all of my academic career. Actually, we did this exercise where we would line up and we would walk through the hallways as runaway slaves. And parents volunteered.
No, you did not.
I lied to you not. Parents volunteered. And they would walk around and grab a kid out the group, and then you were caught and had to go. I forgot where.
No.
To some. I kid you not. Kings Grant Elementary. I kid you not. And at the time, you don't think about it. You're just a child, and you're like, oh, we got a class. I get to be in the hallways. But as I got older, I was like, yo, me and my sister, I have a twin sister. I'm like, what were we doing? And she's like, I don't even know.
Okay, but think about it. It'll be different if it was like a majority Black school and the administrators were white. But I think they were trying to maybe teach the white kids a lesson, maybe.
That reminds me of that YouTube video of the most racist field trip ever.
When they went to pick cotton?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
It shouldn't be funny, but it was ridiculous. I saw that video.
Some of the Black boy.
Yeah.
He's like, they had us out there picking cotton and
they had to put it back afterwards.
They had
to get the cotton back.
Yeah, free labor.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
But yeah, that's what they had us do. And I was, as I got older, and I asked my mom, I was like, why did y'all let us do that? She was like, I don't even remember you doing that. So it's crazy. It is.
And they still try to do stuff like that. That's why, like y'all were saying, when I saw that about the opt-out of Black History Month, I was like, it doesn't surprise me.
No.
Yeah. There's no choice.
It doesn't surprise you. Yeah. Because they still are. I saw in New York, like you said, teachers or I don't know, they were doing stuff like that too, with having the kids have like mock slave auctions. This was recently. Yeah. And I saw same thing. New York Department of Education was like, no, we're not going to have this. And I think they're actually pushing now because they were one of the first to do like they're trying to have a mandatory mental health curriculum in their schools. And I think they're also trying to do something with Black history in New York. But it's just crazy. Like what teacher in 20
I just want to know their learning objectives with that. Like
what is your point of doing that? Like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
They still try to do that stuff.
I saw one where it was like, how would you punish a slave or something like that? Yeah.
Punish a slave?
It's wild. Like,
yes. I mean,
they teach that at your school too?
Nah, yeah. Fortunately.
You want your kids to go to Kings Grant?
Nah. I don't remember if they did anything extra outside of that. But I do remember that. I remember being in the hallway, and I remember, like, I don't know if I got caught or not. I mean, if I was a parent, I'd be like, I ain't gonna catch this little Black boy getting more trouble now.
Mom's a good runaway.
Shut up.
Well, did y'all want to talk about why white people don't get a month?
That is something people ask a lot. Come on, go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Why I gotta go ahead?
Good.
Because what?
We want to hear from you.
I don't know about. I'm sorry. Why white people get a month? Cause they
Have
got,
you ever heard
they got 11
anybody
other ones. So what?
I said, have you ever heard anybody say that, like, around you, or no?
Me personally, no.
Yeah.
Always see that
I've
stuff
read it.
online.
I've read people saying it like, we don't get a month.
You always
I
see it online.
actually had someone say that.
Oh,
And
wow.
guess where? In the counseling program.
Wow.
When I was in,
Was it one of y'all school counselors?
no, she's mental health counseling.
Mm.
When we were in the class
program
on
is wild.
the social cultural
Yeah.
class, I told you I hated that class because I used to. Anyway, like I said, I was always the one like, wait a minute. But yeah, no, we had someone ask because she was sharing her experience, same thing of growing up in like a predominantly white school. But she was like in one of those like country, like small towns, like everybody know everybody. And yeah, she said they had maybe like 5, 6 kids in the whole, black kids in the whole school. And some of the parents were like, well, this isn't fair. Like, where's our mom? And she shared that in class, and everybody in the whole class was just like, oh. And she agreed with them because she said that. She was like, until I got in the counseling program, I didn't think anything was wrong with that. I actually agreed with it. And we were like, wow.
Yeah.
Them your peoples.
Well, she was honest enough to admit it.
No, yeah. That was just what I was about to say. At least she's malleable to change, Well,
Yeah.
she's malleable.
Yeah, it was just, oof. But yeah, they have that mindset. Some of them do, like you said,
There are 11 other months dedicated to not us.
Everything. Yeah.
It's 12 months dedicated to people that identify with the dominant culture in society. Even during Black History Month, I mean,
Still. Mm-hmm.
beauty standards are still European.
Yep.
The wealth disparities are still there. It's not like during the month of February all that stuff goes away. Racism's still prevalent.
Yeah, don't nothing go on pause.
Yeah, nothing goes on pause.
Don't be like, hold on, we got to pause the racism button real quick.
Right? Not for these 28 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes 29. No, that doesn't
That's
change.
good.
It's like what we said during one podcast. People that have privilege, they often have fragile egos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that is well, why do you get something that I don't get? And you're not able to recognize that you do.
Yeah.
Your history is highlighted all the time. All the time.
They don't want to sit down and think about it, because it messes up their perception of themselves.
They want to feel oppressed so bad.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly.
Trust me, you don't want it.
Right? You don't want it.
Being oppressed is not fun and cool.
I mean, even look at the dollar. Who's on the money in this country?
Not Obama.
Right? Your ancestors. Your ancestors.
You know how cool it be having Obama bill?
That don't be so fire.
Obama bill.
Obama.
It's got to be worth $1,000.
That would be so fire.
There'll be 5 Obamas, bro. Yeah.
How do y'all feel about them bringing up the conversation again about putting Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill?
That would be fire too.
Oh yeah.
I'm only gonna keep 20s on. No change.
No change.
I mean, we don't even carry cash no more for real.
Carry some 20s though.
Not really.
So would that even be? They chose the time where no one's carrying cash during a pandemic
It's
to
digital.
do it. Yeah. So
I'm gonna carry it.
look, hang it up on the wall.
Just because
Mm-hmm.
it's a symbolic victory. I
I feel like it'll be having like a $2 bill.
Part
Like
of
it's
that.
rare.
Part of that representation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, I feel like it's kind of a way to pacify us. It's like, well, look, you got somebody on the money.
And that's sometimes how I feel when things like that happen. Like when they change something or they want to, obviously that's what we're asking for. But sometimes I feel like they're doing it just to be like, well, I mean,
all last summer, a bunch of companies was doing that.
Yeah.
Doing protests and everything. That's all they were doing.
You're right.
the only one that felt genuine was Ben and Jerry.
Yes, Ben and Jerry had been about that life.
They were going hard.
They've been about that life. They didn't start when the protest started. They've been about that life.
Yeah.
That's true.
Target. Walmart.
Target, has definitely.
Target, they started putting stuff out.
Yeah, they've done that consistently.
Really?
I went there the other day. They had some like Black Lives
T-shirts
Matter
and
shirts
stuff.
and all that.
They've for like years. I've been able to go in there during Black History Month and see stuff that
I want to hang them shirts in there year round.
I had this thought because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the store Box Lunch. It's kind of like Hot Topic. Familiar with Hot Topic. Yeah. So they had some shirts, Black History themed shirts, and they were like $28, $30. And I was just looking out, like some of them are cool. And I had this thought, and y'all can tell me if it's wrong or not. I was like, I feel like I shouldn't have to pay full price for these. I should get a 50% off discount on
75%, 90%,
all of these shirts. Right?
For free.
Let me at least get one for free.
I'm coming in with my hand out. Both of them out.
Or go to a Black business and buy a shirt for no because that means, I won't say it means more. It does. I'm gonna say it.
Okay.
I feel like I should be off this whole month. With pay.
I feel like it too. The whole month. The whole month.
And don't email me or nothing.
No, unless it's about blackness.
Right.
I don't want to hear nothing unless it's about blackness.
She said, I agree.
Every black person, the whole mother family, we get to do whatever we want.
Right, boy.
I agree with that. That's how I am when I meet with like I said, my black students. It's a small percentage of them on my caseload, and I love when I like meet with them, and I'm like, yeah, we just sit and talk, and I'm like,
probably like a familiar feeling, like you're comfortable with them, and you can maybe speak more freely.
For like a family reunion.
Mm-hmm.
Who we introduce.
So let me ask this last question before we get to the redirect corner. Mm-hmm. What is a way Black history can be integrated, if it can, into mainstream society year-round?
That's a good question.
I'm gonna let that marinate.
We need good answers, Turesa.
Yeah,
no, that's for everybody.
No, I think that's for everybody. Like,
hold on, let me let that marinate.
I mean, I was telling them yesterday, I was like, I was saying that, it should really be focused in the K through 12 system. But then Devon brought up the point of like, well, it'll be hard to really spend a lot of time on a lot of Black history. It'll be a lot of time and a lot of content, and they might not be able to fit it all, And I was thinking like, well, what if we actually teach a realistic view of history, like just general history of like who's going to be like American history. And then if you decide to go to college, then you can dive into like, deeper African-American history, deeper Native American history and stuff like that. But I still think that, and we have that now in colleges, but I feel like we should have a real view of American history and not just like slavery and the things that are considered radical thoughts, need to be in.
That part is thinking about like who is teaching this, because that's where the problem is.
Like unqualified teachers. Yeah,
like public, private schools, same thing. Both of them, like you have teachers, who are the ones that are really, like I said, just. I feel like they need their own like training, before they go in.
Out the old in with the new.
Because, like some of the teaching programs that they're in, like they don't equip these history teachers, to be able to teach this properly. Like I said, they don't. So how, would you expect them to go in the classroom, and be like, all right, we're going to dive into the, they don't themselves even know how
What's
to.
that one professor lady, the old white lady, who's a big ally?
Jane Elliott.
That's the one. We need more her.
She went hard.
You need that type of.
That's the type of people who are willing to have those conversations. Yeah,
not the ones that are like checking it out of the box. Yeah, like okay, I'm teaching y'all this.
Like just to put on a test so just to say I taught it. Yeah. And I know teachers are trying their best here. They're trying what they were given, but I still think we need more, qualified teachers who are able to have those conversations. So.
I mean, basically, we need more qualified teachers. They need to do a better way of teaching, like I said, the real history. Like, stop glossing over stuff and hyper-focusing on certain things that you want to push, like your agenda.
Yep.
Granted, though, like I said before, like it's political and whatnot. So, of course, they're not going to want to teach us all this, that, and the third. But, like I said, Black history is American history, so it should be taught and known. Yeah.
All year long, like you said, not just one little teeny box. No,
not even the little subheader in the top right corner of the page.
if that.
I'll say if America wants to do a better job, I don't think it is unreasonable for them to break apart different groups by month, because it would give like a whole month dedicated to a group of people. And then I would say that, like you said, you made a good point just now. I think it should be American history, and then there should be subsections within that, and then there should be world history. And you shouldn't mix the two because it's going to get too much stuff. So, like, if you want to do Black American history, then start with Black American history, and even that doesn't necessarily start with slavery. And then you can do like Asian history, because that's in America as well, and so on, Native American, so on and so forth. But it's just sad that we see these outdated textbooks that have this information that
even the schools that are trying to take it out of textbooks.
Yeah, or even the schools that try to change this stuff. Like they call enslaved people workers.
Yeah.
I remember when all that was going around.
Like
the
Texas,
books.
something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know what y'all
of course,
talking about.
Yeah,
they was trying to take slavery out of there.
They were like
they came
workers.
in willingly and did this.
Yeah, basically that's how they try to make it seem like they came over here
Indentured servants,
and they were working.
Yeah,
Like they filled out applications in Africa, and the ships came and picked them up.
I'm upset. I'm really upset. But,
so, Mr. Tell Everything to Master Walker, go ahead and put us to the next group.
So we are here now towards the end, and we had the redirect corner. The redirect corner is pretty much where it's like a timeout corner. We gotta redirect your attention, like, hey, man, you messing up right now. Mm-hmm. So basically, this week in the redirect corner, we have Mr. Austin C. and people who feel left out in Black history. Yeah. First, Austin, I want to say you are in the sunken zone. Get out. You need to get out.
I think we should just end it there. You're in the sunken zone.
And everybody else all the other, I guess, Americans who feel left out in Black History Month, why do you feel left out? You're American. Black history is American history.
Exactly.
Accept it, love it, embrace it, embrace us.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't going nowhere. We've been here like.
Don't tell us to go back to our country because we can't. We was born here.
We built this.
Yeah,
right. We
literally
built it.
Like, what are you talking about?
Literally built this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they say nowadays? Try Jesus.
Don't try me. Because we do throw hands.
They work every day.
I think on that note, we don't have to do a whole round of that. I think that was a good, So again, Turesa, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you and your perspective.
Yes. Thank you for your experience.
Absolutely. Keep fighting the good fight.
Yes, thank you guys. Trust me, I'll keep you posted.
Send everybody every day for the rest of this month a song from NWA or somebody, Snoop Dogg, something.
Toby Nwigwe.
Email blasted out to the kids. Like, here you go.
Yeah. That could be a way to do some things for Black History Month, some songs. I mean, obviously not the more raunchy or ignorant songs, but some songs like Nas, I can,
Oh yeah,
stuff like that. So
yeah, I like that.
That being said, redirect out. You want to say your saying? Because Raven had it.
How you gonna say redirect out?
We ain't out yet. Say your saying.
Leave. Well, at the end of every podcast, Turesa, we kind of say a little something like a little mantra or whatever. So I kind of go. Mine is happiness isn't a product you seek. Happiness is a product of the choices you make.
Marinate. Yeah. Mine is be grateful for the twists in the road. They teach us grace and humility. So, yeah.
I had something different, but I'm going to say try Jesus and don't try me.
And I'll say I'm Black and I'm proud. Okay, stay Black.
So with that being said, we are out. Redirect's out, everybody. Yes.
Coffee,
it's in the box.
I didn't like it. She put it up.
You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.